Imagine waking up one morning and discovering you will not live forever. No animal leaves behind a diary. No wolf wonders about retirement. No deer builds a cemetery. But somewhere in humanity's distant past, one mind looked at death differently. Not as a danger. As a certainty. That single realization may have changed everything. It may have given birth to religion, to art, to memory, to civilization itself. For almost the entire history of life, survival was enough. Find food. Avoid predators. Raise offspring. Repeat. Even our earliest human ancestors probably lived this way. Then something extraordinary happened. The human brain kept growing. Not just in size. In imagination. Around 300,000 years ago, anatomically modern humans appeared in Africa. Their brains looked remarkably similar to ours. But having a modern brain did not automatically create modern thoughts. Awareness evolved gradually. One generation at a time. Researchers believe imagination became increasingly powerful. Humans could picture tomorrow. They could replay yesterday. Eventually, they could picture a future without themselves. That thought changes everything. Psychologist Ernest Becker argued that awareness of death became humanity's greatest psychological burden. Every culture ever studied has developed ways to confront mortality. Some through religion. Some through legacy. Some through storytelling. The fear itself may be universal. But when did it begin? No fossil preserves a thought. No skeleton records an idea. Archaeologists must search for clues instead. One clue appears inside ancient graves. Some of the oldest intentional burials date back roughly 100,000 years. Bodies were carefully placed. Sometimes curled like sleeping children. Sometimes covered with red ochre. Sometimes surrounded by tools or animal bones. These actions took time. Time costs energy. Energy costs survival. Why bury someone who can no longer help the group? Unless the dead still mattered. That possibility fascinates archaeologists. At Qafzeh Cave in present-day Israel, researchers uncovered carefully buried humans alongside red ochre. The burial appears intentional. The pigments were carried there deliberately. Nothing about it was accidental. At Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq, one Neanderthal survived serious injuries for years. His arm had withered. His body carried multiple disabilities. Yet he lived. Someone cared for him. Someone shared food. Someone protected him. Compassion existed long before written history. Some researchers believe these discoveries reveal something profound. Human value was becoming independent of immediate usefulness. A person mattered because they belonged. Not because they were strong. That idea still shapes the modern world. Hospitals exist because of it. Funerals exist because of it. Memorials exist because of it. Death began strengthening the living. Then came symbols. About 75,000 years ago, people engraved abstract patterns onto pieces of ochre at Blombos Cave in South Africa. The markings served no obvious survival purpose. They represented ideas. Ideas survive longer than bodies. Soon afterward came beads. Shell necklaces. Carved ornaments. Personal decoration. Identity was becoming visible. Someone wanted to be remembered. Someone wanted to belong. Some researchers think symbolic thinking and awareness of death evolved together. Once people understood life would end, they searched for permanence elsewhere. In stories, in families, in communities, in symbols. Around 40,000 years ago, Europe witnessed an explosion of cave art. Horses raced across stone walls. Lions stalked invisible prey. Hands reached out across millennia. Many of those artists remain anonymous. Yet their fingerprints still exist. Quite literally. Some pressed painted hands against cave walls. Thousands of generations later, we still see them. A silent message survived. I was here. Those three imagined words may summarize humanity itself. Psychologists call this symbolic immortality. You may never live forever. But your influence might. Children carry your genes. Books carry your ideas. Buildings carry your work. Songs carry your emotions. Memory became humanity's answer to mortality. Cultural anthropologist Ernest Becker believed civilization itself grew from this struggle. People build lasting things because they know they will not last. Whether or not every part of his theory is correct, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Every civilization builds monuments. Every civilization honors its dead. Every civilization tells stories about what comes next. Why? Because every civilization asks the same question. What happens after me? Science still cannot answer it. Biology explains how life ends. It cannot explain why consciousness exists at all. Neuroscientists continue searching. Philosophers continue debating. Religions continue believing. The mystery remains. Perhaps that mystery matters more than the answer. Because uncertainty drives curiosity. Curiosity drives discovery. Discovery transforms civilization. The first human who truly understood death may also have discovered purpose. Not because life became longer. Because it became limited. A deadline changes every decision. Every conversation becomes more valuable. Every sunrise becomes more precious. Every goodbye becomes more meaningful. Mortality gives time its value. Without endings, beginnings lose their importance. Without limits, choices lose their weight. Every achievement exists because time is running out. Every act of kindness matters because opportunities eventually disappear. Every generation inherits unfinished dreams from the one before it. That is how civilizations grow. Stone becomes cities. Stories become history. Memories become identity. And identity outlives individuals. Perhaps that is humanity's greatest invention. Not fire. Not language. Not agriculture. The ability to leave pieces of ourselves inside people we will never meet. Somewhere, tens of thousands of years ago, one human being looked at a lifeless body and realized something terrifying. One day, this will be me. That realization could have become despair. Instead, it became meaning. Every grave. Every painting. Every song. Every scientific discovery. Every act of love. Every story ever told may trace part of its origin back to that single impossible thought. You are alive because countless generations refused to let death have the final word. And perhaps the strangest truth is this. The first human who understood death may also have been the first human who truly understood life, but the story did not end there. It was only beginning. Every generation inherited that realization. Then added something new. A new idea. A new discovery. A new way to remember. The oldest graves became sacred places. Sacred places became villages. Villages became cities. Cities became civilizations. And civilizations became history. Every great culture left behind monuments. Not because stone lives forever. Because people do not. The pyramids. Stonehenge. The terracotta army. Cathedrals. Memorials. Each one asks the same question. How do we outlive ourselves? Some searched for eternity through faith. Some through family. Some through knowledge. Some through art. Others through kindness. Every path began with the same realization. Life has an ending. That ending gave every beginning its value. Without time, there would be no urgency. Without urgency, there would be no ambition. Without ambition, there would be no progress. Every scientific breakthrough exists because someone believed the future mattered. Every library exists because someone wanted knowledge to survive them. Every school exists because someone chose to teach a child they would never become. That is an extraordinary idea. To spend your life building a future you will never see. Our ancestors did exactly that. They planted trees whose shade they would never enjoy. They built roads they would never finish. They told stories they would never hear repeated. Yet they did it anyway. Because hope can outlive the person who creates it. Perhaps hope is humanity's oldest inheritance. Older than written language. Older than recorded history. Older than kingdoms. Hope survived because people shared it. One generation passed it to the next. Again. And again. For hundreds of thousands of years. Until it reached you. Right now, you are carrying memories that began long before your birth. Ideas invented by strangers. Words spoken by forgotten voices. Dreams imagined by people whose names disappeared thousands of years ago. Yet they still influence every part of your life. That is the power of legacy. Most people will never become famous. Most names will eventually be forgotten. But almost every life changes another. A parent shapes a child. A teacher inspires a student. A friend changes a decision. One act of kindness echoes farther than anyone can measure. Perhaps history is not really the story of kings. Or wars. Or empires. Perhaps history is the story of ordinary people quietly changing the future for someone else. The first human who realized they would die could never have imagined the world that would follow. They could not imagine books.